guys, it's Lisa and welcome back to my channel. So as the winter month is very fast approaching, I thought it would be great to do a video on winter propagation. So that means heat mat, prop box, grow light, all of that jazz. I thought that this would be very helpful for those of you who have never set up a prop box before, or this might be like your first winter having plants. So I'm going to first go over why you might want a heat mat or a prop box or both, and then I'm going to show you guys my prop box, my heat mat, some of the mediums that I use for propagating during winter time, and I'm also going to go over thermostats and show you mine as well, because a lot of people don't seem to know about these, and I think it's really helpful to know what they are, where you can get them and things like that. So this is probably going to be a bit of a long video, so we better just get straight into it. Okay, so I think first we will cover why you might want to have a heat mat or a prop box or both. So basically in the colder months, so I'm thinking autumn and winter, and it's just about winter here in New Zealand at the moment, your plants go dormant, so their growth slows right down. They take a lot longer to grow new leaves, and their root growth also is probably slowing down too. So the purpose of having a heat mat or a prop box or both of them together is that you're creating an artificial environment and tricking the plant into thinking it's still spring or summer. So your heat mat's creating some warmth, your grow light, if you have one's creating more light, and your prop box is creating humidity, especially when paired with a heat mat as well. And then that means that your plant is going to continue to grow, or you're going to be able to propagate a lot easier and a lot faster, and it's going to be more successful as well. It's quite hard to propagate during winter time. You can still do it, but it can take a lot longer. There's more chance of rot and the propagation being unsuccessful. If you want to propagate during winter time, then having a prop box and a heat pad is going to help you substantially. If you're not really fussed, then those things might not be necessary for you, so it's kind of a personal decision on what you want to do. Another reason that people might have heat mats and prop boxes is not necessarily always for propagating. Some people put their plants into those things during the colder months so that they will continue to grow. So particularly if you might have a juvenile plant, so a cutting, it might already be rooted, but you just want it to continue to grow so that you don't have to wait so long. But if you do want to propagate, or you do want to put some plants in your prop box or on a heat mat just to make sure that they continue growing or aren't getting too cold at night time, then that might be why you want to set something like that up. The first year that I had plants, I didn't know anything about heat mats or prop boxes, so I didn't have anything. None of my plants died, they were fine. I just couldn't really propagate successfully or very fast during winter time, that's all. And another thing that some people do is they just have the heat mat without the prop box, and they might put some of their plants just in their pots onto the heat mat during winter time just to make sure that they are staying warm and not getting too cold, particularly at night time. So yeah, that's just another option that you can do if you don't necessarily want to propagate anything or set up a prop box, but you might think, oh, a heat mat might be a great idea for me because it gets really cold in my house during winter time, especially at night time. Then yeah, that's another option as well. Okay, so next we'll talk about heat pads or heat mats. They're the same thing, by the way. The term just gets used interchangeably. So in case you've never seen one or you don't know what I'm talking about, this is a heat mat. This is my smaller one. It just comes with a normal plug that goes into the wall. And I also have a much larger one here, which I can't really fit in the frame because it's quite big. So both of those I got from the Grow Shop. I'll put a link to their website down below, or if you live in West Auckland, there is a shop that you can go to. So my smaller heat mat was about $30, my larger one was $60, just to give you kind of an idea. You can also get heat mats at other places like Bunnings and Mitre 10 sell them, but they generally only have the one size and they're about $80 or $90. So I found the Grow Shop was quite cheap. I've also heard of getting heat mats from brewery shops for brewing beer. Apparently one of the processes brewing beer, you need a heat mat, and apparently they're quite decent priced. And I've also seen a heat mat at a fish place that sold things for like turtles and reptiles and things like that. They had a heat mat there as well, but I'm not sure what the price is. So you can get them in a few different places, not necessarily always plant related places. As I said in the intro, your heat mat is for keeping your plants or your prop box warm. So you can put your prop box on the heat mat or your plants on the heat mat. And another thing that I'll just mention about heat pads that is good to know is that they don't use up too much power. So I had my heat pad running 24/7 for about 3 or 4 months last year, and our power bill didn't change much at all. It was hardly noticeable, so they definitely don't use up too much power, which was something that I was worried about since I'm renting and my landlord pays the power bill, but she never saw a difference in the power bill. So yeah, it doesn't use that much power at all, which is great. So something that is really important to know about a heat mat is that it heats up to 20 degrees higher than your ambient room temperature. So whatever your room temperature is, it will heat up to about 20 degrees more than that. So if your room is 20 degrees, it's going to heat up to 40 degrees, which is quite hot, right? A lot of people don't really realize that when they get a heat mat. So when I first got my heat mat, I definitely didn't realize that, and then one day it heated up to about 40 degrees. I couldn't put my hand on it. It was so hot I thought I would burn my hand. So obviously this is not great for your plants because it's going to cause you to get root rot as they're going to get burnt, and yeah, it's not ideal. So one thing that you can do to help with this is you can put something between your heat mat and your prop box, just to kind of create some insulation. So I normally have a towel between them. Some people put something between it so that it kind of lifts it up so that there's a gap between your heat mat and your prop box. My big heat mat actually came with little foam circles that you can place between your heat mat and your prop box to lift it up. And I've seen other people use things like polystyrene, saucers, like anything that really will give you a little gap between them. So that's one thing you can do to make sure that your plants aren't going to get too hot and die, because you don't want a sizzling plant, that's for sure. Another thing that you can do, which a lot of people don't realize, is that you can actually get a thermostat. So this is my thermostat. So it looks like this. That's what it says on the back. This I also got from grocery shop for about $99. I know it's quite expensive, but when you think about it, it's really worth it. So basically what this does is you connect it to your heat mat and you can set it to a temperature. So for example, I set mine to 23 degrees. This means that your heat mat is going to stay at 23 degrees at a constant temperature. It's not going to get colder. If it does, this little light will come on that says heating, and you know that your heat mat is heating back up to 23 degrees, and it can't go any higher than 23 degrees, which means that you can feel a lot safer that your plants aren't going to get burnt. And it also made me feel safer sleeping at night time with my heat mat on as well. So when I had my heat mat going last year, I had it going 24/7 for about 4 months, but I had my thermostat, so I felt pretty safe. So yeah, this is a great little tool if you're worried about your heat mat getting too hot. I also found that sometimes my heat mat was really, really cold as well. Like I could put my hand on it and I couldn't even feel any warmth coming from it. So this was another good thing to make sure that it stayed warm and it didn't drop too low. So basically you just plug this into the wall, and then the plug that I showed you on the heat mat plugs into here. It's got this little doodah that you put into your prop box, and this detects what temperature you're at, and then it can send the information to this and it will either heat or cool down your heat mat. Personally, I think it is 100% worth the $99, especially if you have your heat mat going 24/7 for a couple months. And yeah, it just made me feel a lot safer as well. Okay, next I'm going to show you one of my prop boxes. So this is my main prop box. It just looks like this. Still got spag moss in it from last year. So I got this guy from Bunnings for about $6. It's also got a little opening so you can open and close it to let airflow in or not, or increase humidity. And then yeah, the lid just comes off and then you have a tray. So that's one really great prop box, really cheap, $6. So I thought that was great because it's quite tall, which means that if you have a tall cutting or a tall plant, it can usually fit in there. When I bought my Hoya Nicholsonia cutting, I think it was, I previously had just a Sistema box and it didn't fit in there, so then I had to buy this one. So that's one example of a prop box that you could get, and I think there's others that are similar. You can also use, like I said, a Sistema container. So if I'm just doing like cuttings that are quite small, then quite often I would just use steamer container. Any container really that will do, as long as it's got some clear area so that the sun can get in, or light if you have a grow light, and it should be able to be closed so that the humidity will stay in. So if it doesn't have a lid, or the lid doesn't close properly, then you're not going to get as much humidity and keep as much warmth in as you would otherwise. So yeah, that's pretty much what a prop box looks like when people are talking about prop box. Anything that you put your propagations in, basically. But I do think that's a really great one because it's so cheap. I actually, before I bought this one, bought a steamer container, and it was more expensive than buying the prop box. So yeah, that's just a really great option. And what do you put in a prop box? So there's a few different mediums that people use. My preferred medium is spag moss. So here's a bag of spag moss, if you haven't seen this before. So this is already wet spag moss. You can also buy bags that are dry. So I have a bunch of dry spag moss in my little cupboard. But yeah, so this is an example of a spag moss. So it just looks like this. This is the most common brand that I see. This stuff is great for propagation, and it also helps keep the humidity up. Another common propagation medium is this stuff, fern fibre. You can see the price there. I got this one from King's. I'll try to show you what it looks like in case you haven't seen it. So that's kind of what it looks like, fern fibre. So that's another good propagation medium that's really taken off in the last year or so. Before that, it was not really that well heard of. Some people also use cocoa peat, but I don't like that. So yeah, I normally use spag moss or tree fern fibre. I'm thinking about doing a separate video on all of the different types of mediums, like for soil and propagation. So yeah, keep tuned for that one. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I think I'll try to do that at some point. That's pretty much what I do. So basically for my prop box, I just sprinkle damp spag moss along the bottom. Keeps the humidity up. You can put cuttings straight into the spag moss, or I might put cuttings into pots and then just put them in the prop box, but they're spag moss like around them just to keep the humidity up. Or you can use tree fern fibre instead of spag moss. But you'll see when I set up my prop box anyway. I just thought I'd show you those two things because they're pretty good. Okay, and lastly I'll show you my grow light. So this is the box that it comes in. So this is the brand, Sensi. This is what it says on the back. So it's an LED light, E27, not dimmable, full spectrum. The light bulb I have is a 15 watt, but you can get other wattages, and it's a LED. This shows you like the energy consumption or something like that. So the higher it is, the less energy it uses. So basically good for your power bill. So down here is bad. So it's quite high. So apparently there's not going to be a huge spike in your power bill, which is great. I was worried about that. I also forgot to mention that I got this grow light from Sunbulb NZ. I'll put a link down below, and I'll put any links down below that I can find of other places that sell grow lights for you as well. So I'll show you what it looks like. So obviously this is the 15 watt, and you can get other wattages which look different, but this is him. So there he is. It's a screw-in bulb as well, so you can just screw this into like a lamp or whatever. So I was talking to the people who run Sunbulb on Instagram, and I was asking them what makes a grow light a grow light. It's a pretty complex topic, but just briefly, it's full spectrum, but it spikes with red and blue light, which we as humans can't see. To us it looks like white light, but the plants see it as blue and red, and this blue and red light is really good for growth. And it doesn't go into UV, which obviously the sun goes into UV, so you're not going to get any sunburning as well, so that's also great. But just disclaimer on that, I have seen posts of people putting their grow light like right up against the leaf, and yeah, the leaf got burnt. So don't do that. You want to have a bit of a gap between your grow light and your actual foliage. Although I don't think it's producing too much heat, it's not a heat lamp. It probably will still produce a little bit, just like you don't really want to touch one of your light bulbs when it's on because it's a bit hot. And I will show you my prop box setup. I'm not going to set up my grow light today. I've actually got other plans for this, which will be coming in a future video. So stay tuned for that one. I'm actually only setting my prop box up for the purpose of this video, then I'm going to put it away Anyway, that is all the main information that I wanted to put out there, because I've seen so many questions on social media at the moment from people who are new to all of this and don't know what on earth, where to start, So hopefully that helps you get an idea of what to look for, what the purpose of everything is. And yeah, let's set up my prop box. Okay, so I'm going to pretend to set up my heat mat here. So here's my heat mat. So what I would normally do is I would then chuck a tea towel or a towel or something over the heat mat. Like I was saying before, although I have a thermostat, so I'm not too fussed about it. So it'll be like that. And then I'll chuck my prop box straight on there. Okay, so I've just gone and got my spag moss nice and damp. So as you can see, if I squeeze it, no water is coming out. That is perfect. Sometimes I receive cuttings and the spag moss is so damp. If you squeeze it and water's coming out, yeah, that's too wet. So you want to be able to squeeze it and no water comes out. But obviously it's still nice and damp if you compare it to... It's a bit hard to tell, but if you feel a piece of dry spag moss, it feels completely different. So what I would kind of do if I was actually setting up my prop box is I'd probably have the whole bottom covered in spag moss, but I'm not going to do that just for the sake of this video because I'm not actually using the spag moss for real. So probably what I would do is I would put some cuttings in as well. So these are ones that I find do best in soil, so peperomia. And then I've also got a few cuttings that are already rooted, but I just want to maybe chuck them in my prop box over winter time so that they can continue to grow well and increase the humidity for them. So my prop box would probably look something like that, and then I'd probably also maybe have some cuttings propagating in the spag moss. So let's just put a couple that I've already got just in the spag moss, and you want to just make sure that the node's in there, but try not to have the leaf sitting on the spag moss if you can help it, because otherwise it might rot the leaf. So if you can have it kind of sitting upwards, that's probably ideal. And then I would probably go ahead and pop the lid on once I'm happy with everything living in my prop box. So I've got these two things that can open, so I might have one open, and one of them I'll put the thingy-mabob for my thermostat in. So I found that it worked best if I just kind of popped it down the bottom, not on the side of the prop box. So I'll just have it like that, and then I'll close that because it'll keep the wire from moving. And then I might open this during the daytime and close it at night time. I would probably also do a little spritz in here as well, just to increase the humidity. So yeah, that's kind of what my prop box would look like. Let's have a look at how to set up the thermostat though. Okay, so I'm just going to turn the thermostat on. So here's the thermostat. As you can see, it's heating, so it's currently heating the heat mat up. So you can see it's going up. So you've got a Fahrenheit and Celsius. If you press the up button, it will go to Fahrenheit, down button, it will go to Celsius. Obviously the thermostat comes with instructions, but I may as well show you. So if you wanted to set the temperature, you'd hold the set button for a little bit. So it's currently set to 23 degrees. Once it starts flashing, that means you can set it. So let's say, oh actually I want to have it at 22 degrees, so I'll put it down to 22. It'll flash, I'll press set, and now it's set to 22 degrees, and it will just continue heating up the prop box until we get to the right temperature, and then I'll just leave it. Cool, so here is my prop box. This is pretty much what it would look like if I was setting it up for real. We've got my thermostat. Obviously, if I was actually setting it up, I wouldn't have cords all over the place, but this is just an idea, so I've got them all in there. And then every day or so, I will just check the spag moss and see if it's damp still. If it's dry, then I'll give it a good spritz, or I'll take it out and put it under the tap again, rinse it out, and then I might have to also spritz the plants. Okay, cool. So that was me setting up my prop box as if I was actually setting it up for winter time. A couple points that I didn't mention while I was doing that. Firstly, if you have a prop box that doesn't have the little flicky open things like my one did, like you just have a steamer container, then you might want to open it, take the lid off for an hour or two a day, just so that there is airflow. Airflow is really important because if the plants don't get any air or any oxygen in there, that can also cause root rot. So yeah, ideally you would open up your prop box once a day for an hour or two. Sometimes with my other prop box that I have at the moment that has a full closed lid, sometimes I get really busy and I don't get to open it every day, so I try to open it at least every second day if I haven't opened it already. So yeah, that's really important as well. And one other thing that I also didn't mention, because I don't do this, but some people also put a little hygrometer, I think it's called, into their prop box. So this is like a little digital thing that tells you what the humidity and the temperature in your prop box is. So that can be really handy, because then you can see like if your humidity is low or how high it is, and you can also see if your prop box is getting too hot or not. So yeah, that's also something that you can do as well if you want to. If there's anything that I've forgotten in this video or that you would like to know that I haven't mentioned, please hit me up in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. If you have anything that you would like me to cover that's along the same lines that I didn't cover in today's video, please also let me know. I have a similar video coming soon of me setting up my fish tank, so I can pop anything into that video that I forgot to mention in this one. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful for those of you who've never set up a prop box before or have been a bit confused or don't really know what you're doing. Give this video a like if it was helpful or if you enjoyed it, and I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye!